just running this file. Then I've got it set up on a loop where it'll loop the job 5 times, but I wanted to play this one first because it shows the G code rolling, although it's going to get out of bounds when it goes to the sub program that does the tool change. Just running this file, then I've got it set up on a loop where it'll loop the job 5 times, but I wanted to play this one first. So, if you want to put any questions in the chat, feel free. So this file's run 4 tool paths, 4 different tools. It's going to quit here in a minute, and I'm going to loop it to just run the same file 5 times, but there won't be the graphics in the here or the G code. It won't show up because it's just running a subroutine. The little messages that pop up are confirmations that the tool was picked up by the checking the state of the IR sensors. So this is going to be the last tool path, and then I'll run the loop file. And it's going to unload the tool with the Masso. You got to unload the tool at the end because the tool change is actually happening in the post processor file and not in the M6 functionality. The only thing the M6 functionality of the Masso is doing is setting the tool length offset. So let me find file, test loop 2, load, and cycle start. Now it's going to run the same cut file 5 times. Some guys wanted to see how it runs over and over and over again, so I'm going to sit here for a little bit and let it run. If you put a comment in the chat, I'll answer your question, or you can come to the Discord server and hop on with me if you want. I'm just sitting here letting this run. I'll wave to you. Anyways, I'm just sitting here letting this run. If you have any questions, you can post them in the chat. But the reason you're not seeing any G code or anything is because I've got a 4 tool change program that I'm looping. So I don't have to start it every 5 minutes or 10 minutes. The messages that pop up on the screen, on the Masso screen, are confirmations of a successful load or unload of the tool. Thanks for coming to check it out. You can ask any questions if you want. The file's running on a loop right now. As soon as it stops, I'll run the single file so you'll be able to see the G code generated. You don't see the G code generated because the file I'm running right now is test loop 2, and it's simply calling a subroutine, which is looping this P50, or the name of the file is 50.nc. It's looping it 5 times. It may not have another round to go. But I figured I'll sit here, let it run for till I get ready to crash. The little messages that pop up are confirming that it's successfully loaded or unloaded at both tool recognition zones. Nope, did we stop? Alright, I'm going to go ahead and load this file that it's calling to loop, and we'll just run one session of that. Alright, so it finished the file, and pretty much need to make sure you drop the tool at the end of every file. So we'll go ahead and run the test loop again, and that'll run cycle 5 times. Big thanks to Guillaume Furl and NC Chips on our Discord server to help write the workaround for this and get the sensors working, and it's been a pleasure working with everybody I've worked with on this project. Tally Boatwright, big help, shout out. In fact, I just got some video from Tally for, we've been beta testing the ER32 on his Blue Elephant with Centroid. Yeah, so the machine is made from natural paper phenolic. It's really super sweet stuff. I've built two machines out of it. It's um it's natural craft paper, layers of natural craft paper impregnated with resin, phenolic resin, and compressed at like 50 tons or something. It's really solid, stiff stuff. And someday I'd like to build kit machines out of it. I got one machine that's completely made from it. This particular machine is got panels of natural phenolic and some 4080 extrusion, just some V-rail extrusion I had laying around when I put this thing together. I basically built this machine to do testing, and I've run Mach 3 and UCCNC and Centroid and now the Masso on it. So it's a nice little compact little table for testing and stuff. Other than like what you see on the screen, I really haven't used it in production or anything. It gets the controller changed out on it constantly. Oh, look at this. We got a failure. It didn't read the sensor. So for some reason, if we look in the F1 setup now, auxiliary 5 is low, which is right. If I block the beam, it's high. So we got a false positive here on the tool check. So what happens with that is this, you can't really see this on the screen, but it says tool not fully threaded. So I'm going to click OK and then hit cycle start. Basically that message should say tool not through fully threaded, fix the tool or something like that, and then hit cycle start to continue. So I'm going to hit cycle start after I put the tool on, which it already was on, and then it says okay, tool fully loaded, and then continues with the program. So the failsafe is really nice to have. Um, since I've been looping this, it hasn't actually failed, but the sensor threw a false positive a couple times. And I think it's because this particular magazine is kind of Frankensteined. It's actually one of our original magazines, which was only 54 millimeters deep from front to back. And to accommodate the new NEMA 17 housings, we had to go to a 60 millimeter wide magazine. And so this one I kind of Frankensteined the new stepper housings with the with the old magazine because I didn't want to cut a new pocket on my table. So the IR sensors are a little close to the center, closer than they need to be, but yeah. So this is an 800 watt spindle, ER11 clamping nuts, and the load RPMs 2,000 RPMs, I believe. Let me look. 2,000 RPM. I'm trying to type here. All right, so I'm just going to load the regular. This test loop calls out file 50NC and loops it 5 times. So I'm going to go ahead and just load the file 50 so you can see the actual G code that subroutine is looping, and we'll just run it straight once. Hey, Jeremy. So you can use just about any type of tool setter. For instance, see if I can find one that I'm talking about here. Oh. So you could really use just about any kind of tool touch-off device. You can use one like that right there, spring-loaded. It can set outside the magazine or anywhere you want it to. This particular one is it's actually a 3D probe that would go in the spindle and probe an X, Y, and Z. But you can flip it over, put a little disc on it, and it's a super accurate tool setter. So other Z probes do work. It can be configured to mount it anywhere. It doesn't have to be mounted inside the magazine. So it's pretty flexible. So getting your spindle to spin both directions really is just a matter of wiring a relay to the pin on the VFD that controls reverse, and then to get it to spin slow enough to make the tool change without destroying the sockets in the magazine. It's generally there's generally a minimum setting on the VFD and generally in the control software depending on which one you're using. I had a lot of people ask to see it run continuously, so that's kind of why I'm doing this, and just kind of sitting here doing other things unless somebody asks a question. So false positive. Finish the file. Let's run 50. So I've got it set on a loop. This is actually running the G-code file 50.nc, but I've got another program that calls this as a sub-program, subroutine, and will repeat the file 5 times. When it's done running this file, I will put it back on loop, and it'll run the same file 5 times in a row. But you won't see the G-code scrolling because it'll be calling it as a subroutine. I'm putting screenshots together. Tomorrow I'll probably do a live stream on the whole setup and how to set the G3 up with the linear tool changer type 2 to be able to cycle the tool change subroutine and set the tool length offset every time without having to hit cycle start, which is pretty nice. And the little message boxes, you can't really read them, but they are reporting the tool recognitions zone 1 and 2 as being successful or unsuccessful. Every once in a while it will read a false positive. I've probably got it set a little too close to the sensor. So this particular file is running 4 tool changes, and yeah. showing the repeatability of it. So that was the last strategy for this file. It's going to go ahead and put the tool back, and then I'll pull up the loop file, and it'll run that same file 5 times. So we'll load the test loop 2. And you're not going to see the graphics or anything because Masso won't display the subroutine G code. So this is the file we're running test loop 2, and it's just calling that same file that we just ran. It's going to loop it 5 times. Actually, I might try to show some of this setup a little bit right now. So the infrared sensors are set up like this. I've actually got my limit switches and the infrared sensor on this machine set up, and I had to put a 5K1 resistor here so that it would pull the signal high so Masso could read it. I had to do the same thing with my other limit switches. But the tool setter is a 3-wire sensor as well, and for some reason that didn't need a pull-up resistor. So I've got this set here to input 5 on the G3. And then you would go to the, see if I got the right screen up. Yeah, so I picked auxiliary input 5 as auxiliary 5, and I think I can show how it's, let's see here. If I can change to the setup screen while this is running, and I can, you can see here auxiliary 5 is high, now it goes low as it's checking the state of that pin to check to see whether or not the clamping nut is still attached or not. And so from there, you would go in and set up the auto tool changer into the F1 setup screen. Pick auto tool 0, and then come in here, enable it, and put your X and Y positions and machine coordinates. Enable those. Give yourself a place to start the probe from and how fast you want the feed rate to be. Save it, and and then you would move on to the the tool changer section. Double click that, and then you want to click on linear tool changer type 2. And then it would bring you to this screen, and you will set the slot locations 1 through 5, or however many slots you have, and you would set those all to the tool setter position. So they're all going to have the same position slot wise. And you're going to give it a feed rate. I got this set at 500 millimeters per minute. Number of slots. And you're going to leave these 0, leave these 0. Save that. And then we go to I don't have that one up here. I'll grab it and put it up here. Alright, let's see if I can get this one up here. Okay, so then you're going to go into the tools and offsets F4 screen, and you're going to name each tool that you have. Don't worry about the Z offset, that will be put in by Masso when it measures the tool. You're going to give it a tool name and a slot number, and you'll just do that for every slot that you have pocket for. And we got another false positive. Okay, cycle start. And that's it. Then it's a matter of writing the subroutines. Actually, we've got the subroutines written. It's a matter of putting in your own machine coordinates for your particular machine. Pretty simple process, and we're working on the post-processor stuff for it now. It's works pretty well with Fusion 360. I know there's a lot of Vectric users, so we're getting that set up so it can post-process out of Vectric as well. So we've been running, what, 92 minutes yet? Running a file that I call a subprogram. It's on right now that loops it 5 times. And then when it's done, I will run the file that it's running so you can see the G code and the graphics on the screen. You're not seeing the graphics on the screen right now because it's running a subroutine and Masso doesn't display any subroutine G code. So the subprogram works pretty good running in Masso. The only restriction is that at the end of the file, you want to make sure you drop the tool off. And I understand that in the next version that Masso comes out for the G3 is going to have an M6.1, which will allow you to negate the tool that's in that Masso thinks it has. So when if you've got tool 1, if Masso thinks tool 1's in the spindle and you have to load it or start the file with it, it won't probe it. So between files, it has to either not have a tool in the controller brain or have not have the tool that you're gonna call. Okay, hey, thanks for the question. What material the grayish plates are made of? No, it's not aluminum. It is natural paper phenolic, which is um, craft paper, layers of craft paper impregnated with phenolic resin, and I don't know, they compress it at like 50 tons or something. But it's super rigid. It machines really well. It's a little hard on the cutters, but super rigid, way better than aluminum. And the nice thing about it too is that it dampens all the ringing or frequencies that aluminum extrusion can put out. Now this particular machine is it's half phenolic, and then I've got V rails, 4080 V rails too. Um, kind of a combination. If you could see this machine back here, I built that machine about a year ago whenever I started demonstrating the tool changer. And it's seen a lot of wear and a lot of crashing and testing. It's a little loose right now. But that machine is completely built out of phenolic panels, and it weighs about 300 pounds. So it's really nice material to build a CNC machine out of. Eventually, here we get over the hump, I want to put together some kit machines um, made made from the same material. Um, I don't know that it's. I think it is cheaper than aluminum. Um, yeah, I'm sure it is, and it weighs probably as much or more than aluminum, and it really makes. It's really structural. I like it quite a bit. Um, is it cheap? It's not that cheap. I think I don't know, a 4x8 sheet, a 3/4 inch is probably 800 to $1,000 maybe. I'm not quite sure, but it goes a long way. It goes a long way, especially if you build a machine like this, where you've got the 80/20, and I haven't done any real heavy machining on this machine. I use it mostly just to test code on. Um, this is actually the most I've run it running a file with the once I was super excited to be able to find that I could run files on the Masso without having to hit cycle start every time I changed a tool. So I've been pretty geeked about it. And guy's been asking to see it run continuously, and so I thought I'd get on here and run it until I get tired and ready to go to bed. Hoping to do a bunch of live streams and just for setup. I went through a little bit of the setup for Masso with this um, earlier in the video, but explaining the subroutines, I've got some slides that I haven't quite got together yet for that. But I also think that for support, I'm going to start using the Discord server video channel to help guys with support. Maybe do some stuff like that. Hey Wade, thanks for the question. Nope, they're 5 millimeter pitch ball screws. They're all the same on every axis. 16 millimeter, 5 millimeter pitch. When I was running it on my larger machine, I couldn't run it that fast because of the ball screw whipping. But this one's not really running that fast. I think I've got it at the high end at like 2,500 millimeters per minute, which isn't super fast, but rack and pinion is where it's at for speed, I think. I've got a machine half built, a 4x4 or 1,500 by 1,500 millimeters that I can't seem to find the time to put it together, but I've got helical rack and pinion for the Y and X on that, and kind of dying to get it put together because that's what I'm going to use to build these kit machines if I ever get around to them. I think it'd be cool to get a machine, a small desktop machine, maybe a little bigger than this one, and on the market with the RapidChange built in and everything all configured and ready to go. Yeah, this one's actually got NEMA 23s. They're not super heavy duty. I think they're maybe 230 ounce NEMA 23s, but they're closed loop steppers, which is really nice. Um, but the rack and pinion, I think that's really the fastest way to go. Some of them machines just fly. I'm hoping to get some guys in here on these live streams that have a machine and talk about it a little bit. So if that's you, let me know. Yeah, the closed loop steppers are sweet. I just so nice. So nice to whenever you do crash it when it doesn't just keep grinding. That's one of my favorite things about them. Okay, so this file just stopped. That was the loop file. Now I'm going to go ahead and just load the actual file so you can see the G code running and all that. So that was file 50 and cycle start. I think I said some disparaging things about Masso in an earlier video when one of the first live streams, somebody asked me about it, and I didn't realize what it could do with these subroutines. So my good friend and field tester Guillaume Furlan came and we worked on it this weekend and got the IR sensors working, and then we got a little tip from Masso support on how to set up the linear tool changer to avoid having to do the cycle start every tool change. It's just super sweet. A channel called The Make. I haven't heard of that one. I'm gonna look it up right now. Um, So I looked up the make, but nothing popped up. I don't know if I'm got too many resources going or not, but how into the hobby CNC thing are you? Um, Not 100% sure what you mean by that, but I was a hobby CNCist when I started, when I kind of stumbled onto this thing. So um, I know that I feel like this is a product that could really change the game for a lot of hobby CNCists, and I'm definitely into that. I pretty much, oh, it's a Facebook group. Okay, okay, I'll have to check that out. I have heard of Hamilton Dillbeck. Um, yep, I've seen his videos. I have seen his videos. Hey, I appreciate you in the comment section there, Wade, or in the chat or whatever. I figured I'd sit here and let this thing run, 'cause some guys have wanted to see it continuously run. So um, I figured I'd just sit here and interact when anybody showed up to interact with me, or just let it run in the background. uh, yeah, I would like to get one on his machine for sure. You know, I I'm not into name dropping or anything. Well, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. I really do. Um, I We reached out to some YouTubers, and it's so new and guys are so skeptical. I don't blame people for not buying into it right off the bat. But one we reached out to one YouTuber, a big YouTuber, and they basically came back with a, yeah, well, what do you want us to say about it? Well, it was actually his agent that responded to our email, and it was kind of like, sure, we'll pay us and we'll make whatever kind of review you want. And I was like, nah, we're not into that. I mean, not that we don't have the money for a big marketing budget, which we definitely don't, but if somebody's gonna show it, I want it to be them showing it because, not that I wouldn't do an affiliate thing, with coupons for the viewers and a kickback and whatnot. That's all good business practice. But I'm not paying somebody just to make a video of it and say how good it is, because I don't think I need to. Um, I've not had one person come back and say it's crap, it doesn't work, I don't like the torque, anything like that. Not once. The most of the support that I end up giving is in helping guys get their spindles running right, or it's for the most part it's something other than the tool changer. But we are we are code is code, and it's always a little buggy here and there when you start out, but there's only four of us working on this whole project. My oldest son James does all the coding, and more we've gotten lots of help from the community. It's just been absolutely incredible. The people that have just stepped up to help it out just because I think it's cool, and that it's a solution that a lot of people have been waiting for a long time. Yeah, thank you, David. That's yeah, yeah. Grassroots is where I've wanted to go. Like I said, other than our YouTube, we haven't spent any money on advertising at all, and we might have to do some of that here pretty soon because we don't have a real huge audience, and we probably saturated it. Um, but it's one of them things that's so new and so kind of really. does it really work? You know, I mean, I knew what guys were going to say before I ever put the first video out. You know, it was like, I was pretty nervous about it because I thought the torque was good. You know, it was perfect for what I was doing, but you know, you always need somebody else's opinion. And then we did our field testing program in May last year, and you know, it's just really been really good ever since. So, um, yeah. Oh yeah. Well, hopefully we're gonna need need that. I would like to You know, I'm hoping to partner up with some people. Canada, you know, our sales go Canada or the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, kind of in that order. So I hate for the fact that guys got to pay the duty on this stuff, you know. And it would be nice to partner with somebody in the EU and maybe somebody in Canada and you know, my whole idea with this thing really was this is a real solution and I want to get it to guys cheap, as cheap as I possibly can. You know, right now we're basically in a 600 square foot facility, pole barn to be honest, and you know, our capacity is not huge, but our sales aren't huge either, so it's working out right now to a point. Yeah, you know what? It's interesting when you think about it. Pardon me. It's interesting when you think about it. It's always getting the same amount of torque applied every time. You know, and it's somewhere depending on the spindle. You know, it's somewhere between 10 and 15 foot-pounds. Like I've run it on the little Genmitsu with a 65-watt spindle, and it's or 75-watt spindle. I'm sorry, a little DC motor, and it probably puts 6 to 8 foot-pounds of torque on that cutter. You know, which for what it's worth, a 75-watt spindle, you know, it's going to be plenty for it, right? You're not going to be hogging into steel or anything with that. So I've never seen it slip. I've never seen it slip, not once. And the only times I've ever had the tool slip in retrospect is when I've maybe went to wrench it on and got distracted and never finished the job or something. But yeah. Oh, that's nice. House numbers, right. 24 by 36. Yeah, your place, one floor is bigger than my space right now. I think this is 24 by 32. Whenever I first thought it up, the first prototype I ever made looked like that. Set on two posts with spring loaded, and so that was the geometry, that hex geometry I started out with, and it took me 7 months until I figured it out because it just never worked. It would get jammed in there and it wouldn't sit pretty to get picked up the next time. I almost quit. I almost quit at one point. I was like, God, I guess this is why nobody's ever done this before. What a retard. I just spent 7 months working on it. And then, and then one day I just changed the geometry to some limited points of contact and bam, quit jamming. I was like, oh my God, this is it. I never knew how much work it was going to be and how many hats I was going to have to wear to, you know, bring this to the market. And that might be a good thing. But really, I think I knew what it was going to mean to people once it became mainstream because it really is a game changer. I mean, my God, nobody likes wrenches. You don't have to operate a CNC machine for very long before you absolutely loathe making tool changes. The wrench mounted to a machine, oh yeah, I've seen a couple different ones like that. And to, I was watching, it did, actually, it did inspire me. Well, okay, so I definitely was looking into ATC. And, the cheapest Chinese spindle that was of a decent size, I wanted like a 2 kilowatt spindle. Um, 2,400 bucks, 1,500 bucks, the cheapest maybe. And then everything else, and it was just like, man, I just ain't got that kind of money. So I started looking at DIY tool changers and seen, a couple different ones with the little extra motor that spins the socket and it goes here and it goes there and everywhere, and it just seemed like, God, that's so slow. So I thought to myself, well, it's a spindle and it spins and you spin nuts on. Couldn't I just, couldn't I just take something like this? Couldn't I just, whoop, couldn't I just take something like that, spring loaded, and drive it in there and have it spin it on? And it was like, yeah, it worked. Well, I didn't have my spindle spinning in reverse at the time, so the first time I tried it, went to loosen the nut, and it was like, oh my God, it's tight. I can't believe it. I never expected it to be tight. I thought I would have to just tighten it up. Really, I was just looking for a pick and place rack, you know, because I'm pretty disorganized and lose my tools and my wrenches and stuff all the time. And but then once I did get my spindle running in reverse and tried to drop it off at 1500 RPMs, you know, it would get stuck every time. Well, it would work a few times and then it would get stuck, and then I'd change the geometry and it'd work and then it'd get stuck, and it was just a back and forth battle for months. Yeah, 24 to 40 tool changes a day. Uh, yeah, it doesn't take long to suck, that's for sure. Right, yeah, it was close, but not a cigar, that's for sure. It wasn't a cigar until it would drop it off and pick it back up again every time. Then it became a cigar. So I've been smoking it ever since. And it's not something that's ever going to replace automatic tool change spindles, but it, between the two, they both have their pros and their cons. You know, um, they both have their pros and their cons. It's I never thought that I never thought in any way, shape, or form that it was going to take. I didn't even think it was going to even probably eat into the market, but now that we're up into ER25s and ER32s, I think we probably will take a little bit of that market just because of the fact that it's so inexpensive in comparison. Way faster than wrenches. I don't care if you don't have M6 hooked up. If you can push a macro button just to change the tool, and that's all you could do with it, it beats the hell out of wrenches. I mean, my son, once we got things rolling a little bit, and I got him running the machines to cut the magazines. Um, he's probably one of the only people on earth that's never had to run a spindle like this and never had to use wrenches. Yeah, this is something I think that really fills a gap, between the big expensive ATC spindles right down to your little hobby CNCs, little Genmitsus, you know. And as as it gains attention and more people think about different ways of using it and integrations and stuff, the sky's the limit, because it's cheap and it works and and you don't have to use wrenches. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what? I do have the dream team. Thank you for saying that. I worked on it. I've been an entrepreneur all my life, in different trades. I was in the sign business for years. I started out in the sign business making neon signs. Been in the construction business. My son Thomas and my daughter Elizabeth both came to work with me painting out of high school. And when James was younger, when he was in school, I had my neon business going, and I worked that poor kid to death. But yeah, it's kind of funny how things have just kind of fallen into place with this whole thing. It's definitely a dream working with my kids, and it's exciting to see them really involved with it and excited. James, he was a Little Rock firefighter, and he had been wanting to get out of the fire department for a long time. It was just too much death and destruction for him. So he had been playing with coding for a few years, and I came on, I discovered this, stumbled onto this thing, and I called him one day and I said, dude, I think I found something really worthwhile. And I said, could you look at this firmware, Fluid NC, and see if you could write an M6 into this firmware? I mean, he didn't know anything about CNCs, right? But he knew about code, and he's a pretty intelligent guy. And so I asked him to take a look at it, and 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, I typed in M6T1 in the MIDI, and bam. I was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. This is sweet. Yeah, pretty insane. It's pretty insane. Lots of things had to happen for this. You know, I prototyped out of this phenolic material, right? So this piece right here, that's phenolic, same stuff the machine's made out of. Had I not had that material, I never would have prototyped this thing. And I got that material because I went and did a bathroom remodel job, and they were putting this stuff in for the partitions and whatnot. And there was some scraps left over, and I thought, man, this stuff will probably machine really nice. So I brought it home, and a couple weeks later, I actually made my prototype for this thing, and it worked. And the funny thing is, um, they ordered the wrong color for this job. It was um, Tyson McGee Air Force Base in Knoxville at the airport, and we were remodeling the men and women's bathroom in the control tower. A good friend of mine owns a construction business, and so I would do these FAA jobs for him once in a while. Anyways, they ordered the wrong material, color material, so we had to go back, I don't know, 3 or 4 months later and replace all the petitions and all the doors. It was a bunch of half inch and 3/4 inch material out of this stuff. So that's what I brought back when we scrapped the stuff that they ordered wrong, brand new material. So I've still got enough to probably build 2 or 3 more machines out of it. But had I not done that bathroom job, I would have never come across this material, and I never would have done this. Pretty crazy. All right, this is cool, man. This thing's been running for 2 hours straight. Yeah, Phenolic Gold Mine, you got it. I swear we probably brought back like $4,000 worth of this stuff. I've got it all over the place. Topping tables and building machines out of it. And it's pretty crazy. Oh, like a certain shape cutter? Holy cats. $600. That's insane. What kind of cutter was it? Hey, one thing I want to let you guys know too, or anybody, is that I've kind of getting this streaming stuff sort of figured out, and like right now, I'm actually in the Discord demo live stream channel, and if anybody wanted to come have a conversation, you wouldn't have to show your face or anything like that. You would, because it's not streaming from there, but the audio is playing. So I'm hoping to have guys on, talk about whatever, ask questions, interact. It's kind of hard to talk to the screen, but it's a little easier with having people in the chat, and then I can answer people's chats. Otherwise, I feel like I'm talking to a computer screen, and that just feels really weird. It has a bearing. Is it um, like a burnishing kind of bit or something? Oh yeah, right on. Bixby, gotcha. It's such a disconnect, Discord. Um, you know, I email people and this and that, and but I never know who anybody is on Discord because half the time you can't even see the whole handle. It's just the first letter and a bunch of dots. So it's kind of wild. You'll have to explain it to me. I can't picture it. Yeah, I'll bet. You mean the same size as like a wheel bearing in the slot car? Oh, okay, cool. I gotcha. Right, right. Nice. Okay, right on. Yeah, that's cool. I was in the sign business for a long time. I made a lot of signs. Sign business is what got me into CNC back in the 90s, actually. My first sign business, I had a partner and we bought a little Axis AXYZ machine back in like 95 or 96 or something. All right, I'm going to go ahead and load the actual G code file, which is this one, just for the hell of it, because you watch the G code run. Oh, right. Is it like a tapered bit? Yeah, it was a decent machine. I mean, this was back in the 90s, so it's a long ways from where CNC is today. And then I ended up out of that partnership, and I did wholesale in the end for years. And then eventually I got into building channel letters. And so I ended up getting a 6 foot by 11 foot gantry. Um, hey, Ryan Ballard, good to see you. Um, 6 foot by 11 foot bed, working area, and I'd gotten it from a customer for a $250 neon sign job. It was scrapped out in their boneyard, and I brought it, put it together, went to machinecamp.com. This was like in 2000, and they had a list and instructions on how to put motors and drivers and stuff. It was all Gecko drivers. I can't even remember what the motors were. It was cost me $2,500 for the controller and the drivers and the motors, and so I had probably less than 3 grand into this machine. And when I got out of the sign business, I ended up selling it for like 7 grand. But I always said I wanted to build one from scratch after that. And so when COVID rolled around and state of Michigan wouldn't let me paint, I uh, I started building a machine, and it all led to this insanity. Yeah, Ryan, right on. Um, Ryan actually got me thinking about this live stream stuff. He asked me to come do his live stream with him and got my feet wet. I appreciate it, Ryan. Kind of pushed me out there, and my daughter was like, "We need to be doing these on our channel." I was like, "Oh God, all right. I guess I can't avoid it." But I'm glad. Yeah. So hey, Ryan, if whenever you find a chance for a slot, we've got, as you can see here, Masso running without having to push cycle start or anything like that. And be more than happy to come and tell your viewers about it sometime if you'd like. And I'm getting this all set up through the Discord and stuff where I can. The live stream we did on Saturday, the four of us kind of went through the Discord channel, and it worked out pretty good. I didn't have a whole lot of luck with StreamYard, but anyways, couldn't really. I don't know. I was having trouble with it, but I think I got a system developing. You need to get a regular spindle on your machine. So what machine was it that you had again, Brian? Yes, exactly, Wade. Those are exactly who I had in mind. And I've had a lot of Onefinity people asking about it, and I hated to tell them that it just wasn't quite there. But and I was so surprised this weekend when me and Guillaume were working on this, and then he had gotten a message from Masso support explaining how to set it up in the um, in the tool changer instead of setting up as a manual tool changer. You probably can't read this, but you set it up in the linear tool changer type 2, and you leave a bunch of stuff at 0, and then let's see. And then you just put every slot position as over the tool setter, and it runs it without hitting cycle start, which is just fantastic. I couldn't believe it. So I'm going to run this loop again so I don't have to stop and restart this every time. Hey, thanks for showing up, David. I appreciate it, man. I can't wait to see it running on your machine. Thanks again. So, what's the legacy Artie? Oh, that's right, Ryan. You told me that. You got the Raspberry Pi controller. So that's probably running Gerbil, I'm assuming. Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Right, we're still working on, well, we really haven't even started working on it, but Gerbil is on the plate somewheres. We're just about done with Mach 4. James is working on Mach 4 right now, and it's going to have a UI and everything, so that'll be nice for the avid people and others that have Mach 4. Oh, wow. Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, nice. So it's got a lot of Z clearance. I had to go grab a cup of coffee. Oh, nice. 30K to 8K. That's pretty good. No, I'm hoping not, but it's gonna take some firmware work, I think. Yeah, I'll tell you what, watching it run on Tally's machine on that big blue elephant, man, that thing is fast. But that was really cool working with Tally, getting that ER32 tuned in. So I'd like to have one of those too. It's a nice big heavy duty machine for sure. Yeah, man, Tally is really a cool dude. I really like Tally a lot. He emailed me and asked me about the ER32 here a bit back, and we emailed back and forth a couple times, and then got on a phone call, and I just fell in love with the guy. Such a great personality, and working with him on setting it up on his machine was just a breeze, man. I mean, because he would take his phone and hold it right down there and let me see what was going on, and we tuned it in, and it was really a great experience. So, yeah, big shout out to Tally Boatwright. He's just really a great guy, and he's full of information, super smart guy. He knows a lot, and yeah, it's a pleasure knowing him. And basically, the coolest thing about this, well, there's a lot of cool things about this project for me personally, but one of the coolest things is all the great guys I've gotten to interact with, in this community. It's just, I mean, I was a hermit before this, and, you know, it's really cool to interact with and bounce things off guys all around the world that are into the same kind of stuff you are. Yeah, he's a super helpful guy, super helpful. I just, my life is improved by knowing him, that's for sure. Yeah, hey, thanks for that, Ryan, for sure, man. I will, absolutely. Get that spindle on your machine and let me know, and I'll pop one of these in the mail to you, and we'll play with it. Yep, that's right, Genmitsu's Gerbil. And um, I mean, you can run it on Gerbil with the G code. You know, Here, I'll show you the G code that. Yes, well, I mean, I had to do a little funkiness with it. It wouldn't run like it is right now, Um, I don't think you can use the IR sensors. You can get it by copy and pasting. Let me kind of show you what I'm talking about here, if I can. Okay, so this is basically, okay, so this is the code to pick up that this is using right now. It's a subroutine, and there's one to pick up and one to drop off each tool. So file 1.nc is being called out by the post processor as an M98P1, the one designating the 1.nc. And so I've kind of commented through this to explain what each of these um, G code is doing, and then it's just a matter of putting in your own machine coordinates, and so for Masso, you've got this is a load file, and then 11.nc would be the drop file. So I've got 10 files for 5 tools. 1 and 11, 2 and 22, 3 and 33. I kind of did them like that. And then there's, I don't, like I said, I don't have all the screens ready to go because I think I'm going to do a video tomorrow on exactly how it all works with the subroutines. And Guillaume just told me that he's got the post processor worked out where I think it's going to be even easier. The post processor will spit out these M98 messages to run the subroutines. So just a lot of people in on this, a lot of people helping out, and it just gets, you know, better all the time. So on the Gerbil machines, it's a little more manual as far as you can write macros. Like I on the Genmitsu machine, I had that running on Universal G Code Sender, and I just plug the pick and drop files into the G code, after I post processed it, and I just paste them before and after the tool that it was strategy that it was needed for. So it's a little mechanical on that end, but I've always said from the very beginning, even when I came up with this and I didn't think I was going to get any torque, and I just thought it was going to be a pick and place. I thought, well, even a semi-automatic tool change, and I don't have to look for my wrenches anymore. I thought that was just going to be a game changer in and of itself. And then when I tried it the first time and it actually tightened the clamping nut down, I was like, oh my God, people are going to love this. But I can't tell you how excited I was yesterday when I found out we could run Masso without the cycle start. That just was like, oh man, this is big. And we should have Mach 4 ready to go with a nice UI and a configuration screen and stuff here probably within the next couple days. I think it's being tested right now. It's pretty close to being done. Yeah, yeah. Those cheap Chinese USB controllers can have a real hard time with probing functions for some reason. I don't know. Whenever we first started testing Mach 3, which was like after Fluid CNC, Mach 3 was the next one we went to. And I borrowed this cheap Chinese machine. It was insanely cheap, and it had one of those cheap NovaSun controllers. And we're testing the code, and it's like it kept really doing weird stuff when probing. Like one time it literally literally went to the start probing position and moved in X, and I'm like, what in the hell is going on? So it took me a couple days to actually figure out that it wasn't the code, that it was the controller. And so yeah, beware of the USB controllers. They're glitchy as hell, man. They do some really weird stuff. Throw some really crazy things in there. Right, and they're all different a little bit when it comes to the probing. The tool setting probing part has been probably the hardest part of the integration to work the bugs out of. In case anybody's wondering, you can see the arms moving for the for the dust cover, but I poked a hole in it the other day, so I got to make a new one. But I'd figure it showing the dust cover open and closing. Now this dust cover is opening and closing. Let me move the camera a little bit here. This hall sensor right here, it's got a magnet here, and so you don't even have to have the dust sensor hooked up to the controller. If you put a switch on on the axis, it just opens and closes as it moves over the magazine, which is pretty handy because um, getting the dust cover to operate through the controller has been kind of taking a it took a minute to figure it all out, right? The dust cover was probably the hardest thing of this whole thing to develop. And I swear it drove me nuts. Yeah, it works really well. In fact, I've switched all my machines over to controlling it with the switch like that. And not only that, but you can wire I'll show you in a second here when this goes back to cutting. You can wire a rocker switch to it. So I've got a rocker switch wired to this one, and so even if it's not moved over, you can still open it and close it with a rocker switch too. So gives you good manual control as well, and it's super easy to wire up. And I mean, it's just an AT tiny on a little board with a capacitor and a resistor. Yeah, you're right, Brian. They are Gerbil. So I know that once we get the solution for Gerbil, that's going to open this up for a lot of people. So it's definitely on our list. There's so many, there's so many different controllers, and but luckily, I think we set the Discord up so as kind of a informational support kind of thing. It's really a horrible forum. It's turned into a real mess, and I don't really know what to do about it, honestly. But we want to do more support there. I'm thinking about doing like a support hour a day or something where we can get, I can get live in the demo live stream channel, voice channel, and answer people's questions or walk them through stuff. Um, we really feel like support is where we're going to shine in this thing. And there's a lot of information to disseminate, you know. So I'm really super geeked about these live streams, and then, you know, walking through setups in the live stream, and then we can take the video and edit it down to something, you know, consumable. And yeah, we're working hard at it every day. Right, that's right. So right now we're not supporting the 2.5 the facing bits, but I actually do have a design that will work with that. It's going to have a pretty big footprint because, pardon me, because the spring that keeps the socket. Oh, this file quit. Let me restart it here. I'll go ahead and run the regular G code. Oops, there's where I wanted to be. So this is the G code file that the other, I was looping this G code file 5 times, but this is the actual file that's being looped. So I'll run this so you can see the graphic on the screen and the G code running and stuff. um, Dirty Knobs said, any preferences for an ER10? Okay, so maybe you're talking about an ER11. We've got we've got magazines. This one actually here is an 800 watt spindle with the ER11 collets, and then, you know, we make magazines for ER16s, ER20, ER25, and we're just pretty much done beta testing the ER32s. Okay, so Carlos Sierras, thanks for the question, man. It does work with the WorkBee, the CNC X Pro version 5 running Fluid NC. We're almost there. I think the X Pro 5, if I'm not mistaken, will run Gerbil HAL. And one of the Discord guys in our Discord community is the working on it for Gerbil HAL. So actually, I've been working with a guy that's got an X Pro, and he's having trouble with something with the controller. I can't remember now exactly what the problem was. Something about his homing or something, but yeah. If you can run Fluid NC, it'll run. Hopefully we'll have Gerbil HAL here pretty soon, and then we're pretty much wrapping up. Well, Mach 4 pretty much wraps everything up. I think James is planning on going back through Mach 3 and tightening everything up so that everything's got the same lingo going on and from one platform to another. You know, there's so many different platforms that we put this on, or that it's, you know, that it can be used for. It's just it's an enormous amount of work to write all the code for all these different programs and stuff, but man, it's just super great. The community that you know, setting up the Discord was a good idea because guys are coming out and willing to participate, and it's just really, it's kind of mind blowing, to be honest. But it's been a lot of fun, man. It's the hardest I've ever worked in my life, but it's a lot of fun. I get to talk to a lot of cool people all over the world. It's crazy. Like we probably, I think, I think just over 50% of our sales are in the U.S. And then Canada, and then Europe as a whole, and then Australia. Um, we've got one. I sold one to a guy in South Africa, And then just a week or two ago, I sold one to a guy in um, South Korea. So it's actually running. Rapid Change is running on 6 continents around the world. Now, one thing that I'm going to point out right here, and I'm going to hit the feed hold because I'm going to hit the feed hold right there, and I'm going to grab this cutter out. This is one thing, you know, nothing's perfect, right? So one thing that'll happen, and it seems, I don't know why, but it only ever seems to happen to chamfer bits. And it's not real tight. It's a little bit loose. So what'll happen is over time it'll ride down a little bit. Just a little bit. Now, if you put a little heat shrink on the back of on the back here, if I can show this right. Wow, this is hard to do. Little heat shrink there will keep it from riding down. So I just noticed that was getting a little long. But, you know, I've probably run this file now 60 or 70 times, you know. Come back here and hit cycle start. Oh, did it finish? Oh, it finished. Okay, right. Chamfer bit was the last one. Okay. I'll load the loop. So now we're going to loop the same file. This is just a program that's going to loop this same file 5 times. Test loop 2. M98 is calling P50, which is the file I just ran, 50.nc, and it's going to loop it 5 times. I know you can't see the screen there, but that's what it says. You know, I ran tool changes once, one day for 6 hours straight, and it was just picking and dropping from one pocket, so it wasn't moving side to side. And it would do a cycle every 16 seconds. And I think I ran 1,500 tool changes in like a little over 1,500 tool changes in 6 hours. So this is like the next best thing, you know, as far as sitting here and letting it run. A little bit better because it's actually changing tools and doing something, you know. It's obviously it only cut this part the first time it ever did it, but as you can see, it's not taking any more material. So probably a testament to the closed loop steppers on this machine, and you know, it works as well as your machine does. And most of my testing is done on my beat up machine that is kind of sloppy, so it works on sloppy machines too. Yeah. Wish it had been out a few years ago. It's a pretty neat deal. Yeah, there you go. Invest more in the machine, less on the spindle. Right on. You've got dual Z on your machine, Wade? That's the way this other machine. that machine right there in the middle there, that's got dual Z, and it's pretty sweet. I really like it. It really, in my mind, it stiffens up the spindle quite a bit. But that was the machine I beat the hell out of this magazine on. So I need to take it apart and rebolt it together and stuff. But oh yeah, Mach 3. Yeah, it works on Mach 3. Yeah, the dual Y squares itself. That's nice. My dual Z squares itself. You almost got to have self-squaring when any axis. I would think that you got two motors on. Oh yeah, yeah. I remember. I think I remember you saying something about that, Ryan, about the router on the front and the back. That's pretty cool. That's right. What size is your spindle, Wade? Yeah, probably could. Maybe replace my ugly mug with the machine running. Right. Yeah, that's kind of why I'm doing this one. People were asking to see it run on and on. So, I started to do one with my sloppy machine, but it wasn't playing nice, so. Then I got the Masso worked out, and I was just so geeked about that. I had to show the world. That's pretty much what it's about now. Yeah, there you go. Word of mouth, man. That's what's gonna do it. I'll tell you what. It is really kind of amazing how much success we've had with this, just from a grassroots level. Without putting any money into marketing or anything like that. And it kind of blows a lot of people's minds. But I really, you know, I chalk it up to all about what it is. It's it pretty much sells itself when you can. People believe that it works, because they get it and it does, and it's just it's so new that I know a lot of people can't really figure it out. Figure out, it's hard to believe that it actually torques the cutter on tight enough to cut. It really was kind of a it really was kind of a oh, oh, it's still going. Hey, thanks for coming out, Ryan. Good to see you, man. You too, brother. Oh, I started to say something and I couldn't remember what it was. Now I remember. So, you know, it was kind of a crazy idea and a little insane to think that this could actually work. Um, One of the guys in the Discord I was talking to one time said only a batshit crazy inventor could have come up with something like this, and I laughed and I had to agree. Yeah, the 7 months it took me to really get it to be repeatable and figure out the right geometry was probably ludicrous that I spent that much time on it. As it turns out, I guess it wasn't ludicrous, but I definitely asked myself if I wasn't crazy quite a few times. All right, right on, Wade. So you said that was a Facebook group, I think. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, the hard part, well, you'd think the hard part was over. That's funny. Yeah, hey, why not, man? I mean, you know, we're all entrepreneurs. Everybody, everybody's got to make a living. But, I'm all about affiliate stuff like that. Why not? You know, I just, I had one YouTuber's agent. We reached out to some YouTubers. We have a couple times on and off, but one guy we reached out to, his agent got back with us almost right away. He's like, "Oh yeah, well, what do you want us to say about it and this and that?" And it was like buying a commercial or something. I was like, "Nah, I'm not into that kind of thing." That's pretty serious. 600 members that pay $100 a year to be members in less than a month. That's a pretty good return right there. I'll be glad when I get when I've had 650 people buy a magazine. But I think it's only a matter of time. The more exposure it gets, the more people saying, "Yeah, it works." It'll avalanche at some point, I think. Yeah, right. That's it's kind of what we're working on here. So trying to stock up. Um, yeah, we got some things in the works with some maybe some bigger exposure. Can't really talk about it right now, but it's something that we've got to be prepared for before we do it. So yeah, right. Yeah. Holy cow, 85 gallons of stain. Oh my goodness. I did a lot of painting in my day, and I never was a huge fan of Spain. Stain. Aside, just towards the end of my painting career, I discovered spraying stain. I got a couple HVLP sprayers that are pretty nice. You know, you can dial them right in, and I found that spraying stain was sweet. I hated brushing that stuff on, but spraying it with a real thin mist and seemed to work pretty good. Up that file finished. Now, I think I'm going to run this file and call it a day. Oh, there you go. So then do you got to wipe it off too? Dip it and then let it drip and then wipe the excess off? Right, yeah, that's a good way to do it. 3 hours. All right, well, it's a pretty good amount of time to watch this thing run continuously. Oh, that's pretty cool. Right on. Yep. Entrepreneurial spirit, man. It's a good thing. It's where I've always been. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. It's nice to be able to work for yourself. A lot more job satisfaction, you know. It is a lot more work, that's for sure. But it can be a lot more satisfying. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've always preferred it. Well, I'm going to call it a night. Appreciate you, Wade. Really appreciate all the questions and comments and stuff, man. Appreciate everybody that showed up and popped in. And yeah, I can't say how much I do appreciate it. So thanks for coming, and we'll be back with more. We'll be back with more. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.